All right, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Today, our guest is Allan MacIntosh, president of Marco Group. Thanks for being here, Allan.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Sun is shining out there, nice view. And
Summer's finally here.
yeah, it's a Friday, so.
Yeah.
Allan is president of Marco Group. Been with the company for 18 years.
Yeah, I started Newfoundland Marco off the island in 2003, so it's been about 18, 19 years. Yeah.
Right, and you started as in your career as an estimator.
Yeah, when I graduated college, I sort of took a liking to estimating, and then went on to get my professional quantity surveying diploma, and sort of was a career estimator for a while, and then knew I wanted to do something different, so jumped through a few different companies to kind of work my way up to division manager, and then eventually knew I wanted to own a construction company, and found a great partner in Christopher Hickman, and he was looking for an opportunity to grow Marco off of Newfoundland. So it was a great fit.
Right, and where did you go to college or university?
Went to Algonquin College in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
Did architectural technology.
And are you local? Are you from the Maritimes?
I grew up in Cape Breton in Glace Bay. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so maybe we can talk about a little bit of the background of Marco and how they sort of evolved, and your founder, Tom Hickman, and just kind of a little bit of the backstory.
Yeah, no, it's a great story, actually. For those who've got to meet Tom, he was bigger than life, and a great influence in Newfoundland construction, and certainly an influence in my life for the time that I've known him. Sort of even back up a little bit further than that, a lot of people ask us, where the name Marco came from. And
we were talking about that before you came in.
Yeah. So Tom's wife is named Margaret, and so he decided to start a construction company and named it after his wife. So I say we all work for Marg in Marco, so which is kind of cool. So Tom started the business, and about 2001 he turned the reins over to his son Christopher, and Christopher had some visions of growing the business larger than his dad had done. I think they were doing about $28 million annual volume, probably back in 2001, 2002. And I joined them in 2003, and kind of a unique story. I had a few other options, I was working for a construction company at the time, and Chris had gone over to meet me, so I went over and met them, and we sort of toured around a little bit, and we went for dinner that night, and he brought his accountant in and said, "Okay, we're going to put a deal together," and blah blah blah. And he introduced me to all his staff, and here's our new guy in Halifax. And I said to Chris in a private closed door meeting, I said, "Man, we don't have a deal yet. Like I just showed up to kick the tires, right?" And he goes, "Well, boy, you're here now. We're going to close this, right?" And by the time I left Newfoundland the next morning, I think we finalized the deal in the car on the way to the airport. But that's just the kind of way his dad was, and Chris was, that he saw an opportunity or saw somebody, and he jumped on it and said, "Let's go." So then he said, "Let's grow this thing off the island." So again, I said, "Well, I can work in my basement. I can get very small shingle, and we can start." He said, "No, screw that." So we start looking at an office. I think I was looking at 1,500 square feet. He was looking at 6,000 square feet. He said, "We're going to grow. We're going to be big." And that's kind of the vision that we've had since then. And it's been a fun, it's been a bit of fun ride for sure.
It's come a long way.
Yeah, we have come a long
years.
way. Yeah, I mean, we've multiplied our annual volume by 10. Back then it was $25 million. We're now billing on an annual basis over $250 million, and we've got about $500 million in backlog work right now that we've yet to work on. So
revenue-wise, you guys are the biggest GC in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, I would say revenue-wise, and certainly the projects that we take on.
Yeah,
and we are in a unique situation in Atlantic Canada that if the projects get up to a certain size, and let's say 50, 75, 100, 150, $250 million, we are, I would say, the only GC in Atlantic Canada that is consistently bidding those jobs against the national firms that are coming in or that are here, right? So, we like that position. We also think that we're because we're local and we understand the market and we understand the clients, that we can also be a bit more nimble than maybe the more structured national firms.
Yeah.
So, we can be a little more creative on contractual terms and things like that with an owner and what have you. And even with subcontractors, we can be a little bit more favorable and stuff like that when people need to get paid on a little early and stuff like that. There's not, look, they can pick the phone up and call me and say, look, Al, I need to make payroll this week. I need a check. Can you help me out?
It's a little more
and
personable.
We've done that more times than I can remember, no question, just to keep relationships and what have you. And sometimes you sit back and say, well, that's a silly idea. Why would you do this, or why would you put yourself at risk? And I remember a company coming and said, look, I'm down on my luck. I can't make payroll. I need this. And he's been a long time subcontractor. And we took a chance. I think we paid him about $100,000 of stuff that I never knew if we were going to get back. But I knew if we did get it back, he would reap benefits with that relationship over years. And true to his word, he paid us. He got the work done, finished the contract, and what have you. So, yeah. I think we can adapt and we can do things like that in Atlantic Canada, which I think makes us Atlantic Canadians, and it's nice to be able to have a reputation of being able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. So when you guys are bidding these major projects, is it typically only the national firms you're bidding against, and one or two locals as well, or it just kind of depends on the scenario, depends on the year, depends on?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if we're bidding anything up over $100 million, it's normally just us and the four major national firms that are here in Atlantic Canada. Ellis Don, PCL, yeah, ourselves normally. It gets down below that. You might see a few others, local guys jump up and bid one or two in there, but predominantly it's the five of us that are going after.
What's the selection process look like for you guys in your office when you look ahead for the years to come, or the current year, and there's got to be a lot of different parts where you're deciding, we should stay away from that one. We're bidding all these major ones.
Well,
or just kind of bid everything.
I've always said Atlantic Canada in business is a lot like our weather. It never gets too cold. It never gets too hot, right? So we never have these booms. So, I remember back in the day, I was working for a national firm, and I was working out of Halifax. And they had gone through 6 presidents, and they had no direction. And the president came down and basically said, we're going to be a dam builder, we're going to be a white pavement contractor, and we're going to be airports. And I'm like, okay, we got one major airport, we have no dams, and we don't do white pavement. So are we closing? But that was the vision from the States. So I think in Atlantic Canada, we are able to adapt to whatever the market is bringing to us, right? So when you say what your vision is, well, my vision this year might have been different than my vision last year or my vision 5 years ago. So when box stores were rogue, we were a box store builder, right? When recreation centers were vogue out of the 2008 recession, when that hit, there was infrastructure money. We became recreational center builders. Yeah. Then we became school builders, which obviously we still are today. Then we get into long-term care homes and multi-res. We're doing a heck of a lot of multi-res right now, and triple Ps are in vogue right now, and they will wax and wane. And now we're a triple P builder. Yeah. And in 5 years, we'll be some other market, but we will be able to adapt to that market, whatever comes at us.
You mentioned triple P, so public-private partnerships and procurement. That's something that you guys launched into a few years ago.
We did. I think we've got a unique niche market in Newfoundland where we're sort of a sought-out partner. We have an opportunity there to be a bit more competitive. Maybe the national guys aren't there on a regular basis. So when we see a large project in Newfoundland pop up, we certainly want to put all our resources. Was
the Muncore Science Facility a P3 project?
No, that was design, bid, build. So that was a hard dollar bid. Yeah, that was I think $243 million the day we bid it. We were $1.6 million low.
We were talking about that before we came on the air.
Yeah. We like I say, we worked on it for about 3.5 months. A lot of long hours, long days, big team putting it together, and the day you win it, you get this euphoria of you've won. And we thought, well, geez, we're going to go out and have a big party, and we're going to be so excited. And geez, by the time I think we finished dinner, we were also exhausted because of the time we put into it and the effort we put into it. Everyone went to bed early, so it was kind of a anticlimactic. But
I was using the analogy of my father used to always talk about back in the Oilers in the heyday,
Yeah.
That was it. They lost to the Islanders. They walked by the dressing room after, thought they'd all be celebrating. They were just so tired after.
Yeah, they were. I remember that story.
What it
I think
took to win the cup. To
Wayne Gretzky's book. They're
Yeah.
laying on the floor. They got ice packs on them and whatever. They look like they lost, and they were the guys that actually won because they looked more beat up.
shows
And
you what it takes, right?
I think what Gretzky said at the time is that that's what it takes to win. Yeah, absolutely.
You're an Oilers fan yourself?
Not necessarily. No, I mean I like Canadian teams. Obviously, I'm
Rooting for Montreal now.
I can't say that I'm a Leaf fan, but
So am I.
I'm taking my lumps these days.
I like Price. Though.
Yeah,
Price is
No, you can't knock it. They're playing well. They're playing well.
and we're not going to get into talking about the Leafs
No,
here. So
thank you.
maybe though, I know you guys I think you just completed the Montcore Science facility, right? That's like a 5-year project. And we're close to the finish line.
We're in the final throes of closing that out right now. So that's been a great project for us. Great project for Newfoundland. Great project for MUN. Great project for the Newfoundland subcontractors that we've had in there and what have you. Certain contractors had to come from outside of Atlantic Canada to assist this. A steel contractor specifically, very tight schedule. They come in, they put up 2 tower cranes. We got that done very, very quickly. The precast contractor came from Ontario. But for the most part, all of the other trades, other than
the glazing trade local?
The glazing trade was out of Toronto.
Do you find? Sorry, go ahead.
For the most part, all the other trades were Atlantic Canadian.
Do you find those specific trades are often on these large projects in Atlantic Canada, the ones that are having to come in, who have the capabilities to do those large scopes?
No, not necessarily. I think Newfoundland, maybe more so than the mainland and in the rest of Atlantic Canada. I think in Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, we have large enough trades that can take on those scopes. But when you're moving to Newfoundland, I think the Quebec firms and Toronto firms can compete equally as well in Newfoundland than as the Nova Scotia firms
as someone in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Right. So with the Montcore Science facility and it being a design build, I know kind of the 4 pillars of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but CM.
One was design bid build, so it was lump sum hard dollar bid.
Right.
It was already designed when we picked it up.
Right. So a 5-year project, and at that time it was the largest one that Marco had achieved in the bidding process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's when you do a project like that and it takes that long and it's that big, is there anything you can kind of speak to on just the journey of that and how it's went, or some of the positives or negatives, or just I'm sure you could go on all day about that. But.
Yeah, I think on a smaller project, you can look at that and you say, well, we're going to need a project manager, we're going to need a superintendent, we're going to need a coordinator. And then you start looking at the magnitude of this job and you start saying, well, geez, we're going to need 4 superintendents and we're going to need 5 coordinators. We're going to need a mechanical electric coordinator. We're going to need 3 safety people, and we're going to need an assistant project manager. We're going to need a project manager. We're going to have the project director in. And all of a sudden you start looking at this amount of people and your overheads, and it's just like, wow. And then you start debating back and forth with your senior leadership team on whether or not, how many people do you need and what have you, right? So that was probably the biggest piece for us, was just trying to get the overheads and get the manpower right so that, we can answer the questions on time, we can supervise the work on time, we can push the schedule on time, and we can meet our deliverables. So that was the biggest sort of learning curve for us.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of what you mentioned earlier about whenever, started from the island and moved to, at 25 million, and how far Marco's come. And I guess you have those breakthrough kind of milestones every, year or two, where you get a job like that. That's just kind of a new territory where and there's always going to be uncertainties, and you just.
I think every job is a great win and a success, right? Whether it's negotiated, whether it's hard dollar. We take nothing for granted, and we're appreciative of every client and every job that we get, and because we do remember the days that are lean. And I know when Tom and Chris put their faith in me in 2003, it didn't go as well as I thought it would, as quick as I thought it would. So we were probably 6 months in without a project, and true to their character, they stayed with me and believed in me, and eventually we started picking up some work. And I remember a guy in particular, Stu Crawford. He was working for Ivanhoe Cambridge, and we had bid some work over there, and I went to see him, and he said, "Look, Al, I'm going to take a chance on you," but he looked me in the eye and he said, "Do not let me down." And I kind of sort of take that with every client from now on moving forward. Like, they are putting their trust in us, no matter even if we have a resume that'll support it now that maybe we didn't before, that they're putting their trust in us, and we should do everything we possibly can do not to let them down.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of speaks to like every man needs a challenge. That's always just, it's what it is when you get a contract. It's a lot coming at you, and there's going to be a lot of challenges down the road. But that's what we thrive off of. That's what makes us get up in the morning.
Yeah, no question. And we try to go out of our comfort zone and try to take on bigger challenges. And there was a gentleman that's had a long history with Tom by the name of Michael Novak at Sonco. And he's been a great client of Marco and a great friend of Marco over 30 years. And we would Mike would have an idea, and we would bid it and support it, and it wouldn't go anywhere. And then we'd do another one, and then in '08, that's when we landed the casino in New Brunswick, and that was about a $75 million job, and that was a massive piece of work for us. And I think we signed it. A few weeks before the collapse of the market in the States. So we were virtually unaffected through that because we had this big anchor job that took us through all of that. And then when the feds came around and brought the infrastructure money, we jumped on that bandwagon. So, it's, and then that's kind of what brought us to Calgary, another job for Mike. He wanted to do another casino out there, so that's why we kind of went out there. And then we had a client here in Germain that we did a couple of hotels for, and one in Newfoundland, one in Halifax, and we did two for them in Calgary. So, I think it's important to keep those relationships, and I think that's been the foundation of Marco, is that we get a client, we hang on to them, we treat them well, we don't let them down, and we make sure that they know that we appreciate the relationship.
When you're diversified like that, it's going to get you through all the different changes in the economy, and every province is different, and certain things are moving fast, and healthcare, like you said, schools, you're building more schools now again. And you did the JL Ilsley High School for one. I mean, there's all kinds that you guys have done and are currently doing. Right?
Yeah, that one's an exciting one for us because
that's a big school.
Yeah, it's about $40 million, and it was the first collaborative design build school or project that the government of Nova Scotia ever did. And so they went out for bids, and it was obviously technical and a price scoring mechanism, and we won that with a team of Mike Harvey. Architects, right? Yeah. Mike's a great guy. He's been great.
He's got a great reputation.
Absolutely, terrific guy, terrific designer. And so we put a team in around Mike, and we went through a collaborative design build process with the province. And so you've got the school involved, you get the user groups involved, you get the educators involved, and the outcome is a tremendous. School for that community.
So is that all done on BIM? BIM,
yeah, we will be. Yeah, for sure. Revit and BIM. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So, how is that something that Marco's does a lot of, the design builds, or just when the opportunity comes up? And
yeah, I mean, we're doing more and more, and I think the delivery models are changing. I think the days of the hard dollar bid are leaving, although that is still a certain part of our business, and we like that because it keeps us sharp and competitive.
Yeah, but it's nice to just get around it, isn't it?
Sometimes, but design build certainly is a big part of our work, and that is true to all triple Ps as well. They are all design builds. They're called a design build, but they're a different name. And when I kind of look at the construction management jobs that we're doing, and they're very much like that as well, where you're in the room with the designers. Now, with a construction management job, you get a chance to have the client in the room and give them exactly what they want on a daily basis as well. So that's what sort of gets me out of bed in the morning, trying to get involved and creating something for the client that they want and what their vision is, and they see it come to life. So it's a lot of fun.
That was one of your notes, I think, that we were talking about, is the collaboration. That's part you love, and that's part of Marco's kind of their mission statement, but it's part of their leadership 3 tiers and teamwork and
commitment, integrity, teamwork. I think those are what we sort of live by, and when we get an opportunity to get in front of a client and talk to them and let them know about our construction knowledge and what we can bring to the team, as far as that, and be collaborative, I think that's where we shine, and that's where we've had a lot of our success.
Is there one of the, when you call, like GC, general contracts, construction management, design build, P3. Is there one that you find or is more challenging, or is it's just there's different parts? Like if let's say half your revenue is from CM jobs, does that mean it's a better year? Or like, does that make sense? Or I'm just wondering,
I mean, predominantly,
you'll take what you can get, and they're all great. They all have the positives, but
I mean, predominantly the margins are lower in construction management, but the risk is lower for general contractors because the risk is pretty much transferred to the owner. But
doesn't hit your cash flows. Right?
No, but you're only as good as your budgets, and so if you're giving an owner a budget, they expect you to be able to hold that budget, and if you don't hold that budget, then you're probably not going to get the repeat business from them that you want. So we try to give them realistic budgets that we kind of hold to, but the risk transfer is ultimately back to them, so hence we get a lower fee. Lump sum jobs, depending on if you bid it right and competitive enough, maybe you can get a better fee on that. Design build, like a triple P, there is more margin in that, but there's a massive transfer of risk back to us because, like in the NAMHAF project in Newfoundland that we talked about earlier, the liquidated damage penalties on that, just for financial penalties, are $50,000 a day for every day we turn this building over if we're late, right? So that's a massive risk transfer. So obviously you would have to have a larger margin because of that risk that you're taking on. So you want to have a mix, right? You want to have some construction management, you want to have some design build, you want to have some lump sum. Just like if you were having a financial portfolio, you want to be you want to be 100%. Diversified, 100%.
It makes me think after what what you just summed up there is kind of one of the reasons why we started the show, to have all the different parties in the construction industry that are out there. There's so many players involved, right? To have a building like the Munn Science Center, for example, or even any countless ones just around the block here, and how take someone through the process. Some of our listeners that maybe are outside the industry and what it takes, like, makes me think of as a former contractor where you have subs on the site where okay, change orders issued, we're not going to do that until it's signed and we get paid for it, and then it goes up the channels, and then but you're talking about budget pricing and preliminary stuff maybe 2 years before the job was even awarded and the architect got involved, and the stress it puts on a GC or CM when there's all kinds of things changing and it's going above budget and beyond schedule, and just so much autonomy and logistics.
And I mean, we've never been one to hold off on the work because we didn't get a signed piece of paper. I mean, you have to have some trust. That's what I love about Atlantic Canada, is that people they look you in the eye, they give you a handshake, and say, don't worry about it, like keep trucking, and the money will come. We'll look after the paperwork, and keeps the job on schedule and get things open up. I mean, I do think we're good at the paperwork, but in the same token, we don't live and die by it.
No, and that's the mentality you have to have, I think, to be successful in construction. Like, things have to keep moving. You move or die.
You have to have optimism in construction, right? Pessimists don't usually last very long in construction.
I think that probably, 100%. That's good advice. That probably speaks true to most industries, if not all. What about Prince Edward Island? Have you guys done anything there lately? And you did some stuff on the UPI campus over the years.
Yeah, we did a couple nice projects for UPEI. We did a job early on for Maritime Electric, which is another interesting story.
One of their headquarter buildings?
No, we actually, I think it was one of the first jobs Marco did off of Newfoundland. And I had done some industrial work when I was working for an industrial contractor. And I had some connections into that world. There was a consortium that wanted to do sort of a modified triple P. It was a design build, gas-fired LM6000 turbine plant. And so they came to me and they said, look, would you give us a price on all the foundations and civil work and what have you? And, we have this designer on board and we're going to give you all the design. I said, sounds great. So we signed up, and then the designer kind of didn't do a very good job, didn't give us drawings. They needed a price. So I had to go back and say, well, I kind of built one in Tufts Cove that was kind of like that. I know they had this foundation, they had that foundation, they had this foundation. So I kind of made up my own design. I'm not a designer, but we had to give them a price on something. And we give them a price, I think it was, $4 or $5 million price or something like that. And then thought, well, we may get it, we may not get it. And I remember I was on vacation, and my business partner called me up and said, we just got an award letter. What's this about? Can you send me the drawings and what we bid on? I said, I would if we had them. But anyhow, so then the designer actually went to work, and we designed it efficiently, and And the job went well. We actually made some money, but I look back at that.
Just kind of doing what you had to do, right?
Like 18 years ago, we were surviving, right? And I look back at that now and go, like, man, that probably wasn't the smartest thing I ever did, but we got through it, and it worked out. So sometimes you got to have that optimism as well, that you trust your gut and you kind of know. And I think there was enough knowledge that I had to be able to push forward on that. And now we kind of use that in different ways as we go through design build. We'll come back and say, oh, look, okay, we did a wall like this, or we did a room like this, or we did a atrium like this, or whatever, and I kind of remember those costs and how we did it and stuff, and I'll plug costs in and say, look, that's good enough, and we're not going to get a sub price on this, but we'll have to carry this number and hope for the best later on, and we take the risk in that, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of picturing someone like yourself, like you kind of put under pressure, and you got to, do this thing, like you said, design, which you're not, but you've been around it for years, and then it just kind of forced you to pull from that library of all the different jobs you've been through, and actually maybe more than you think about that certain part of the design or whatever. You remember in different jobs that were similar.
Absolutely, and I think the younger guys get a charge out of that when I'm in the room and we're talking about that, and I'm saying, I remember this job or whatever. Now, some of the square foot prices I remember are not applicable, but how you built it is applicable. So what might have been $2 a square foot, back in 2003 is probably $14 a square foot now. But so that's the only adjustment I really need to make.
Yeah, we can. Are you guys? When we talked about this prior, just when you arrived here at the studio. The adult mental health and addictions facility in St. John's, and that's a major project, and you guys are just coming out of the ground now with the foundation there, I think.
Yeah, we are. We've got
that's a P3, right?
That is a triple P. We're with Plenary, who's I would say the premier triple P provider in Canada, and we're with a great design firm in B+H and Smith and Anderson, who's our mechanical electrical designer, Intuitive as our structural designer, and so it's a two-part process. One, you have to have the capabilities. There's a technical scoring. There's a bit of a beauty contest on the technical scoring and what have you done and what have you. So we want to make sure that we've got good design partners that have done this before, and good P3 providers have done this before, and then our piece comes in, which is basically putting the price on it, working with these great designers and what have you. So that process probably took us 3.5 months to respond to the RFQ. Then you get pre-qualified, and then you've probably about another 6 months to respond to the RFP and put a price on, and then you wait probably 2 or 3 months for them to evaluate it. And then there's usually a big announcement, and hopefully you're on the right side of the announcement.
So that's a year-long tender.
It's about a year-long tender. By the time it's announced, and by the time you get an award or don't get an award, we've been very fortunate. I think out of the 5 triple Ps that we bid, we won 4 out of 5, which is an outstanding track record. So because it does cost a lot of money, because we have to pay designers to design it. If we don't, there's a stipend that we do get paid, but the stipend only covers a fraction of the cost. So if you don't win them, it can be very, very expensive.
That must be a frustrating day after a year long, if you miss it, especially just by
close ball. I guess that you take some solace in the fact that you won 4 out of 5. So it's like, you can't win them all, I guess, right? So I go back to Tom Hickman. I remember when I met Chris and Tom for the first time, and up in his wall there's a picture of 2 guys sitting on a bench, a cartoon character, and they're in rags, and neither one of them look like they have any money, and one turns to the other one and says, I was low on every bid. So you don't want to be low on every bid, right? So obviously you only want to be low on the ones you can make money at.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. Is that a gold seal? Is that a gold lead project or silver? It's a lead project.
It's a gold lead project.
There's not many of those, right?
There isn't. That was the first one in Newfoundland with the CCA and the Gold Seal project, and then the second one that we did was the Berkeley in Nova Scotia for Diane Campbell. That was the one we did in Nova Scotia. Was gold.
It doesn't get up to gold very.
No, not gold lead. Sorry, Gold Seal. So there's
right.
Gold Seal.
Yeah.
That wasn't Diane's project. Wasn't a lead job. It was Gold Seal project for. And there's a differential, and the other project is lead. So yes, the MUN job was a lead gold project. Sorry.
Right. And the adult mental health and addictions facility, that one.
That one, there are certainly sustainable elements in that we have to meet.
Which there always is.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
this day and age,
35% above National Building Code, things like that. So, and there is, I believe it's gold lead on that project, and there are penalties if you don't meet it. So I think we have a $2 million bond that we have to put up, that if we don't meet lead gold on that, then you forfeit $2 million. Yeah, I mean, there's
kind of a little bit of an incentive.
There's an incentive to do it. I mean, there's risk. Like I said, there's risk and reward, but that's, I think why, you've got to be a certain size corporation in order to pursue these triple P projects, right?
So with that situation and the triple P and the gold seal, like what's for your process to ensure that you do maintain that standard? Is that all? I mean, it's whether it's paperwork tracking for all the materials that come onto the site and everything from like what extra governance does that involve?
Well, we certainly have I think about 19 lead professionals in our organization that we've got trained, and obviously we would have a lead designer as part of the team that would sort of give us the roadmap, okay, and then it's up to us to follow that roadmap. But you're right, all the tracking, all the paperwork, all that stuff has to happen at the same time. And the other thing that has to happen, you have to have good subcontractors that'll actually understand the process and follow the process as well. So we pre-qualify our trades, and we make sure that they're doing what they're saying that they're going to do as well. And we tie them also to our contract, so they would have certain penalties as well if they failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe we can go back to let's talk a little bit about the team at Marco and kind of who makes up the team, and then sort of jump into the way that the industry is shifting and so much more collaboration and owner involvement and stuff like that. But maybe just run us through your team members and the guys you work with every day.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of the team members we have are career Marco team members that have made the majority of their career at Marco. Obviously, the Hickman family, Chris, born into it. Myself, been there for 18 years. Rod Ackerman has been there longer than myself. He came over to Nova Scotia to assist me getting Nova Scotia up and running. He was our division manager in Moncton for a while when we had that, and then went back to Newfoundland to run that operation. Jeremy Stewart's been with us a long time. He runs all our major projects. Corey Taylor is our operations manager. He's been with Marco longer than myself. Don Allen's our financial guy. Jada Rutke is our HR person. Neil Pittman, in-house counsel. Kirk Sutherland, who just recently joined us as our manager of pre-construction services. So we've got a pretty good group of people, and I would say in order to be able to maintain and hold on to good talent, you've got to be able to compensate them well and treat them well and give them autonomy and allow them to do what they're good at. And about a year and a half ago, Chris and myself and Rod, who was a partner at the time, got together and said, look, we need to do something more than what we're currently doing. So we reorganized our business. We changed the share structure. We brought in more partners. Rod's now a significant shareholder of the business. Don Allen, Jeremy Stewart, and Corey Taylor are as well. And then we've gone from a bonus structure with our staff to a pure profit sharing with all of our staff. So it's something tangible that the staff can see and touch and feel, and it's based on obviously profits and performance reviews and things like that. So we give them a roadmap on how they can earn more, and they see. So when we have a good year, they have a good year, and it's connected. So that's been a real game changer for us from an engagement point of view, from a recruitment point of view, from I guess a retention point of view from staff. So the people that are really engaged in what we do and how we work bleed blue with us, and helps us grow. So it's been transformational for us, and it's been great for not only our senior managers and our owners, but I think also for our staff.
What about the direction that you see, Allan, the industry heading in, and just as a president of Marco and a large company like that, and just what you're seeing currently and where you see it heading. And you're talking earlier about, collaboration and how owners are, wanting to be far more involved with the seat at the table and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they definitely now want a seat at the table, whether that's the real table or the virtual table. They want to be part of it. And if you're not collaborative with owners and designers now, and it doesn't matter what contractual model you have, whether it's triple P or design build or CM or lump sum, they still expect to have some level of involvement. And so we've adopted a collaborative project management software platform that allows them to see what we see. They see all the correspondence, they see all the pictures, they see everything, and it allows them to help make decisions a lot quicker if they're informed, right? And so we've embraced that. I think moving forward, although maybe in Atlantic Canada hasn't seen it yet, you may see certain things like integrated project delivery, where you're now bringing in subcontractors as a risk partner to that project as well, as opposed to just the GC taking the risk and the designer and the owner. You're now going to start to see subcontractors, major subcontractors, mechanical, electrical, steel, drywall, guys that can make a real impact on the job, taking a seat at that risk table with us and being more collaborative as we move forward. So I think that's coming as well. And if anybody doesn't believe it's coming, I think they're naive, because I do think it's coming.
how soon?
I think the Nova Scotia government's starting to dabble in it now. I wouldn't be surprised that the next school or two might come out as an IPD process, and then that'll start it. So we're training our people now. We're doing coursework and what have you. We're going to seminars. We're getting ready for it, so that we are, I guess, ahead of the curve, or at least not behind the curve.
You're saying not all sub-trades might share the risk, but the driving forces like drywall that are carrying the schedule and mechanical and those.
Yeah. So those trades really need to understand the process as well, and get on board to an IPD process and be open to take that risk on. And the model is basically everybody comes from a profit pool. So if there's a profit pool of $1 million in this job, and we do we meet the budget, everybody shares in some percentage in that profit pool together. So everybody knows what everybody's profit is at the end of the day. And it's a good model. It's a difficult model, but it'll be again one of those other types of delivery models that will make your portfolio look a little bit more diversified.
Sure.
Okay? And just spread the risk around a little bit. And I think in the IPD, the only thing about that is you cannot lose money, but you could make zero money, which is like losing money, because you do a lot of work for nothing if it goes badly.
Yeah.
And I think some of the other things that you got to be open to is the technology that's out there, and you got to be able to embrace that technology. And when I talk about collaborative software or other types of technology, and we've just started one called Struction Site, where we're going in with a camera and we're walking the site, and we're taking multiple pictures, and you can look at it on a PDF, and you can click on that, and like you would on Google Earth, and it'll pop up a picture. And the beauty about it is, you're building this project out. If you walk through the same space multiple times over a number of months, you'll then start to see an X-ray of that wall. So day one you might see studs, day two you might see some electrical in there, and then some plumbing in there, and some insulation, and then drywall. So when you finish, you can overlay these drawings, and you can see an X-ray of the wall to be able to hand back to the owner, sit back and say, we know exactly what's in the wall. Here's the virtual X-ray of it.
Virtual interference drawings. Yeah.
So it works out rather well. It's just another tool in the toolbox, right?
Yeah, I see on one of your notes here, influencers. Velocity advisory group and things like coaching, both corporate and individual, and personality tests like the Myers-Briggs model and different hierarchies and stuff like that. So that's sort of the psychology that you bring into the...
I mean, for a long time, I think, construction companies were closed to that, right? I mean, we were, we're going to put our boots on, we're going to work, and you're going to go home at 5 o'clock. But I think... owners trying to be more collaborative and what have you. We actually had to learn how to do that in a better way. Obviously, there's a lot more education in construction as a career right now. So we're seeing more CETs, we're seeing more professional engineers, more professional people coming into the business, which is great. They have a different expectation of how to be treated and what they want to accomplish as a career. So we started down the path. We have a terrific partner in Travelers, which is our bonding and surety company. And they have an organization called the Family Business Institute, and where they pair you with peer groups that are not in your market. So we're paired with peers from Winnipeg, Texas, California,
other
Florida.
family businesses as well, because you're second generation family.
Yeah, and I would say they call it Family Business Institute, but it's probably an older term.
Right.
I don't think all of the guys that we're partnered with are family businesses, but they're all about the same size, and they all do this sort of the same work. Yeah. So we meet on a biannual basis with them and really take a deep dive on their business, and in turn they come up and they take a deep dive on our business and look at everything, interview our people and what have you, and then they sort of give you a roadmap from a peer perspective and say, here's what you need to do. Out of that, we met this company called Velocity, which is a coaching
business coaches.
Yeah, and so when I talk about Myers-Briggs, and not really a Myers-Briggs, but they do a personality test, and you kind of try to make it fun. So we had our
all
staff.
Kinds of those. I mean, strength finders. There's all kinds of different ones.
But they do it in a unique way where, like, I can't remember what color I was, or if I'm an introvert or extrovert. Well, I kind of know I'm an extrovert probably. But they worked it out in a very cool way where they give you a bird. So I'm an eagle, and then there could be a dove or a parrot or an owl. The owl would obviously be very studious. So, and they just sort of explain.
Eagle sounds way better, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but eagles die early, they say, because there's so much stress in an eagle's life, right? So, and then we went through and sort of say the pros and cons of everything else. Like the most successful parrot in the world is Richard Branson. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Richard Branson, right? So, so that allows us to start connecting with other people. So our staff now can walk into a room and see who the eagles are, who the doves are, and what have you. So you might have to talk to a dove in a different way or what have you. And not that it's that warm and fuzzy, but it just gives them that ability to be able to connect with people and treat them the way that they want to be treated, as opposed to, if you are eagle, then you walk in and, you take it in a certain manner, and you might really offend people, right? Yeah. That don't live your way. So anyhow, it's unique. So we've kind of evolved and grown from that, and then we've given some of our senior leadership team some professional coaching, which is confidential, just to help them grow. And we figure if they're going to grow, it'll be better for our company. So it's been a shift. It's been good. We've taken good advice. I think we've given good advice to our peer group. We've helped them, and they've certainly helped us. They've pointed out our blind spots that we didn't know we had, and we were able to add staff to fill those blind spots and what have you. So HR, legal, things like that we didn't know we needed, but now that we've got them, we don't know how we'd live without them.
Yeah. Anytime I have, we get on the show here with presidents like yourself. We had Doug Doucette last week.
Yeah, I know Doug well.
A few others, and I always find it interesting, and I like to ask them, personally. Well, for starters, like what a day would look like for you, and where you spend most of your time. Is it in the tender processes? Is it front end with clients? Is it the vision and those big meetings and things like that? But just, I think it's interesting for our listeners to hear about, a president like yourself and what a day looks like, or where your time gets allocated and where you find it's most valuable.
Well, it's evolved over time. When we were a very small shop, I did everything. I went out and ran job sites, helped pour concrete, delivered coffee, estimated, worked at night. I remember my business partner Christopher coming over, and we ate a lot of pizza. We worked 11 to 12 o'clock at night, bidding work, and the next day you had to get up and actually go and do the work. Over time, you grow. You have to give up some things by hiring some smart people and allowing them to grow, whether they be project managers, superintendents, operations managers, accounting people, estimators, managers of pre-construction services. And then I think through this, what I talked about before, this Family Business Institute and Velocity, we did some strategic planning, and we kind of looked at that as a leadership group because, I was doing what Rod was doing what I was doing, and Corey was doing what Jeremy was doing, and we were all doing very well, but we were kind of getting in each other's way. So then we kind of looked at that and said, look, what are you good at? What are you good at? Where are your strengths? So we kind of looked at that and said, look, my strength is, obviously you started out in estimating. It's on the pursuit side of the business. Rod's business is on the construction side of the business, and Chris and Don's is on the financial side of the business. So I would kind of look at a construction company as a three-headed monster. You got to get the work, you got to do the work, and you got to pay for the work. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how we started to streamline our senior management staff. And then we started to streamline the second tier staff down from there that will be the next leaders of Marco, and get them aligned the way we're thinking as well.
Was that journey difficult for you, like to come from the background you did? Like when you say delegate, was it hard for you like through those phases to take your hands off of things and like just sort of build
still
that
hard.
machine, like, and it's still hard
it's
for
still,
you to do that?
Yeah, I think anybody that tells you any different, it's you got to trust people, right? And but I find when you do trust them and you give them autonomy, then it comes back and rewards you and allows you to grow the business.
I don't think most people understand the battle it would be, though, for someone like yourself, that you have to, have all this delegating and then trust them. It's like that's hard mental work for you.
Well, you can either work in the business or work on the business.
Yeah.
So you're never going to grow a business if you work in the business. You have to work on it. So in order to work on it, you have to have other people that are working in it. So my day has evolved. Now it's more on the pursuit business, client development relationship, still the day-to-day business of Marco in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and somewhat Calgary. But now I have people to sit back and say, hey, Jeremy, or hey, Corey, or hey, Rod, or hey, Kirk, or whatever. Like, this is really in your domain. I can be the fielder, I can be that connecting piece or whatever. And then I kind of work more closely with our pursuit side of the business, estimating side of the business, client relationship side of the business, and what have you. And then every once in a while, if there's a fire to be put out on the construction side, I'll jump into that as well. But or I'll draw these guys into the pursuit side if I need operational help and support to help us put a massive schedule together on a big pursuit that we're doing or what have you. And so, it's a teamwork. But yeah, you've got to, if you try to do everything every day, your day will never end, man. Like you will, especially the size we are. So,
yeah. I wanted to ask you about negotiating, and I mean negotiating, whether it be with your colleagues or your employees, people that are working under you, with you, but especially in construction when you're dealing with so many big contracts all the time, subcontracts, and negotiation is a big part of your job, I would have to think, and just if you could speak to, is that a learned skill, or do you have that? Are you born with that? Is it inherent, or can you learn and get better at that? I mean, it comes down to boundaries and those kind of things, but negotiation.
Fear of failure is a good motivator. If you fail, it could be massive penalties, so it kind of keeps you engaged. I got a couple of advice from some people who are smarter than me and wiser than me, and they said, make sure when you go into the meeting you know more about what you're talking about than the person you're meeting with. So never go into a meeting, try to wing it, be unprepared. So make sure that you've got your ducks in a row and make sure that you know what you're talking about when you walk in, otherwise you'll get eaten alive by somebody that knows more than you do. I remember a member of YPO, and our platform is education. And we brought a lady in by the name of Victoria Medvec, and she is a professional negotiator, and she teaches how to negotiate. Yeah. And, one of the stories that she told was she wanted a pool, and her husband never wanted a pool. And so for 20 years, they never had a pool. So she walked in one day, and the excavator was in her backyard, and the husband said, what are you going to do? He said, well, we've had no pool for 20 years. Now we're going to have a pool for 20 years, and after that, we'll decide if we want a pool or not. So that's one way to negotiate.
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't think that works in every level, but, they do say that if you're negotiating on price, the person who puts the number on the table first is normally gets what they want, because somebody might have an expectation that could be different. So there are some techniques to it, but I think it's more about, you got to look the guy in the eye and you got to be fair. Okay, and look, I need to get something out of this, and you need to get something out of this, and you have to have a win, and I have to have a win, and there's always a middle ground somewhere, and that needle may shift a little bit, but if you think it's going to be 100 and 0, then you'll never have a successful negotiation. You got to allow someone across the table to have a win, and so you find out what's important to them. What's important to them may not be what's important to me. And what's important to me may not be that's important to them. So if you sit down and have an honest conversation with them, you can find out what's important to them, and you normally can find a middle ground.
Allan, you're the winner of the Atlantic Business Top 50 CEO Hall of Fame. Is that, So when was this? This year? Last year?
I think I finished up a couple of years ago. Yeah, just before COVID hit. So I think they're doing virtual galas now, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they'll get back to that. But it's a great program. So I went through it for 5 years and met a lot of great people, and it was a lot of fun to go through.
That must be satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I did it more corporately. I know it's an individual award, but honestly, without Marco and what we've accomplished together as a team, Allan MacIntosh doesn't win anything. I think the only reason I win it is because I'm representing the team that we all built together, and sometimes somebody has to take the accolades for that, which is different than maybe some of the other awards that we've won corporately.
Mm-hmm. I want to touch on some of those other awards. I'll just list them off, and you can, after I'm done, you can maybe just touch on a few that were and the meaning behind them for you and for Marco. So Halifax Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year finalist, bronze. That was a personal award, and you were bronze, third behind two wonderful ladies. Yeah,
well, when I saw the list of finalists, I figured third place was about the best I was going to do. When I saw I was up against Jennifer Gillivan and Star Dobson, who are two tremendous leaders in Halifax, and I was pretty happy just to be in their company. So. It was a great opportunity to get to meet some wonderful, wonderful people, support the chamber, and I was happy to be involved in that. So, thanks for mentioning that. So the Deloitte Best Managed Company for multiple years, Progress Magazine Top 101 Atlantic Canadian companies multiple times. Yeah, the Progress Magazine obviously is no longer, but when it was there, it was good. That was for every business, including public businesses as well. Mm-hmm. So you're up against the Empires and Nova Scotia Powers and what have you. So that was kind of cool. We got a chance to meet a lot of interesting people through that. And then the Deloitte Best Managed, that's a national an award, and we're very proud as an organization to win that a number of times. And then, of course, with the major milestone projects you've done in Newfoundland and Labrador, you've got the Newfoundland Labrador Construction Association Rock Award. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we won that a few times. So, and we won some Nova Scotia safety awards as well. And look, I mean, you can't be in construction without having safety as one of your pillars of what's important to you and making sure everybody gets home at night and what have you. We have full-time safety professionals that work with us, and every person is mandatory training that we have to go through, and we all kind of look after each other, and that's extremely important to us. Do you want to touch on, Allan, your Calgary office, and that's kind of a newer thing, kind of post pre-COVID, or you want to not bother with that? No, we can talk about that. So we went out to Calgary with Mike Novak, first of all. So I didn't know much about the Calgary market, although I did work for a Calgary construction company as an arm of them in Nova Scotia a number of years ago. And I knew the city enough to move around it, but didn't really know the subs out there. And so Mike Novak said, look, we want to put an addition on the casino very much like we did in Moncton, and would you be interested? And I said, yes, but I think we need a strategic partner. So we went out there and we found a strategic partner to partner with. And we went through and we put some pricing together and gave Mike a budget and a plan. And then I said to the strategic partner, I say, well, we're bringing something to you, so you really need to bring something to us. So here's how I see our strategic alliance working moving forward. And anything of a certain size in different geographic regions, we'll bring you in. And likewise, if we have a client and you'll bring us in. And they had gone through some leadership changes at the time, and they just wouldn't sign off on the pro forma that I put in front of them. And I remember Chris calling me one day and said, what are we doing with this? And I said, I'm very uncomfortable just giving a project away that I think we can do on our own. And he said, do you really think we can do this on our own? I said, absolutely. And we have some people who are willing to travel and go out there. And so we did that. And the project was an amazing success. And we really liked working in Calgary. The subcontractors were very, very good. They treated us well. The designers treated us well. And we said, look, we'd always open up an office in Calgary if the opportunity came up. And we did another hotel out there. We did one for the Germain, and then we were embarking on our second one for the Germain Group in Calgary. We thought this was the right timing. So we hired a gentleman, and we opened up an office, a very small office there. We were very excited about this opportunity, and that was probably up and running in November of 2019.
Right.
And lo and behold, in February and March of 2020, COVID was in full bloom, and oil prices dropped, and everything tanked. So, despite our best efforts of trying to keep bidding work out there, there was no work really to bid. The project that we did have got shuttered because it was a hotel, and the hotel industry took a beating. So we ended up, in the process of putting that office on pause. Whether we head back out there or not, we still have a shingle, still have the office, we still have phone lines and what have you, and we still have some staff. But whether or not we will bring that full forward, like the opportunities here in Atlantic Canada, we don't think we're done with yet, and we still think there's room to grow in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah,
and our focus is here, and we're able to compete.
And it's not as if things aren't busy here either.
No, things are busy. Things are busy enough, and and I just think with the resources that we have and what we can accomplish here in Atlantic Canada, I think that's where our focus is right now.
Do you want to just touch on Marco's annual giving? Is there certain things that you're tied to with some of the the things that go on here and the IWK, those kind of things? So maybe just mention a few things.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the last count we're probably into above 30 charities that we're giving back to on an annual basis in, obviously different levels of contribution. Obviously the construction industry has taken up the torch on the Great Big Dig, and we have our senior leadership team on the committee for that. I sat on the committee for a while on that myself. So I think that's an important one. And, we do it in a couple of ways. We support our clients' initiatives. When they reach out to us, we'll step up in a big way to support them. We'll support our staff when they have some wishes on some things that they want to accomplish. And then we look at ways to try to give back to the community where we actually can get involved and make a difference. And whether like Habitat for Humanity, for example, where we got our staff actually swinging hammers and hanging drywall and painting and things like that. So it was kind of cool. But, you'll never see Marco patting ourselves in the back in the social media circles for that. We do it very, very quietly, and we do give back, but we don't do it for the accolades of look at the social media, what we gave here, what we did here, what we do there. And we're very conscious of the fact that we don't really like to go out and ask our supplier base or subcontractor base to support our initiatives. So we do it in-house, we do it quietly, and we do earmark a certain amount of our profits to give back to the community. But again, we do it in a softer sell way, but I still think it's very impactful.
Anything else you want to mention, Allan, before we wrap up? Just sort of anything that's current or for future plans, vision, just anything to sort of sum things up, or anything that's on your mind we haven't talked about for Marco.
There's nothing really comes to mind. I mean, it's very exciting times for us, and I think in Atlantic Canada as a whole. I think there's been a lens put on Atlantic Canada with our Atlantic Canadian bubble. We've been in the envy of not only Canada but a lot of the world, and how we protected each other. And I think this is going to be looked at as a unique place to live and to do business. People don't need to be downtown Toronto to do their business now with things that are going to be remote. Hopefully, when the borders open, we'll see that immigration then kick back in.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be good for everybody. And I think that'll grow the industry and bring people into the construction industry as well. So I think we're in pretty good shape here for the next 5 or 10 years in Atlantic Canada, and that'll I think be good for everybody in our community. So we just have to get everybody immunized. Go out and get your shot. If you haven't done it, get your second shot.
Just got your second one.
Second one's coming on Tuesday.
Right,
Can't
right,
wait. Yeah. And then let's get back to business.
Yeah,
So
look forward to traveling again.
absolutely, 100%.
Well, listen, Allan, it's I really appreciate you coming in. I know you're meeting some colleagues for a cold one there around the corner. So really appreciate your time. Just it's an honor for me to sit with you. It's an honor for us at the podcast team here to have someone like you on, hear about your stories, hear about a major player like Marco. To have you here is a real honor. It helps us, and it just promotes the industry for the great industry that it is and the professionals that are involved. So I really want to thank you for coming on.
Well, you're too kind, and I applaud you for what you're doing in the industry. It's long overdue, and you're shining a light on what we're trying to do. And I think we're hopefully people will look at the construction industry in a different light, in a more professional light, and realize that this can be a career and a great career, right? And there's lots of different avenues. If you like mud in your boots, you can have that. If you like sitting behind a desk every day in the office, you can have that. If you like going out and meeting clients, you can have that. So, we've got a great industry to attract people, and I think by you guys doing what you're doing is opening that lens up for people to see what the construction industry is all about. And in my way of coming here is to sort of let everybody know that, look at the construction as a career, get involved in the community. Like I sit on the board of CANS as well. Make a difference, jump in, give back a little bit, and volunteer your time if you can. And help us grow our industry and make it professional and make it compete against maybe some other industries that are out there that maybe university kids are looking in different directions, and maybe they should be looking here to help us grow our industry. So thank you for what you're doing to support that.
Well said. Thanks a lot, Allan.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to follow us on any podcast platform you use. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Atlantic Construction Podcast. Be sure to send us a comment or a review. We'd love to engage with you.